have to move the mic down. So, and I usually do, so that's nothing new. So, I feel like George Washington at Newburgh when he had to pull his glasses from his coat. So, thank you all. This is a tremendous honor. The other honorees tonight, I listen to you with awe. So it is very humbling. I agree with you. To my colleagues, especially in the history department, I work with great people, and that's humbling too, I guess. But to my good friends and also my very dear family, I thank you all for being here. Thank you to my husband Dave, whose own love of teaching inspires me to be very bold as often as I can, and never as often as he is. To my brother and sister-in-law, who came a very long way to be here. If I'm getting choked up, I'm never going to get through this. To my sister, who is not able to be here tonight, but she's been with me through everything. Like probably most of us here, I've spent a lifetime in school, and I've been mentored by many, many good teachers, a few not so great, and a couple who were truly exceptional. So I just want to spend a little time, not too much, talking about the exceptional ones. My high school English teacher, Bruce Mitchell, who decided one day to act out a scene from Grendel on top of his desk. And the class watched in horror and fascination as he decides to bring up this epic existential tale and takes this moment when Grendel's arm is ripped from him and he's bleeding, and Bruce Mitchell is going on and on. So it was quite a scene and quite inspirational. I can't mirror that in my classroom, but I was in awe of him. To my undergraduate women's history professor, Ann Margolis, who really demanded that my shyest feminist self at that moment confront my discomfort and get to the business of learning, as she put it. And my dissertation director, Paul Boyer, who pushed and prodded and left me plenty of room to fail so that I could eventually succeed, and my debt to him is great. To my son, John, who's here tonight, he teaches me every day how fast the world changes, how much the important things stay the same. And I am in awe of your resilience, John. Sorry. So the teachers to whom I owe my greatest debt are my parents, Jack and Gloria Foster. My mother, who's also here tonight, anchored all of her children, I think, every day of our lives. And my father, my North Star, who guided us with tremendous expectations, very high expectations, and also love. And I have tried, I think, to model as much of that as I could. So let me tell you about my mother briefly. When I was a very young girl, and you don't have to groan and reach for the wine, I won't tell you my whole life story here. Just a little, I'll start there and go quickly. But when I was a little girl, I was not much of a reader, and I wanted to be outside in the sun all the time. And my mother, who was an elementary school teacher, tried and tried to find something that would pique my interest in reading. And one day she came home with a book called Heroes of the American Revolution, and it had chapters. And I found this book on eBay recently and got it. So these chapters are real. Chapters like Son of Liberty and A Time for Valor and A Woman of Courage, and I couldn't resist. I love these grand stories of liberty and equality, and admittedly, the story's a little more complicated than that, or at least I really hope so, since I've staked my academic career on the fact that there's more nuance there. But Mom, you got me, so thank you for that book. And I think in the classroom, I find myself increasingly challenged by our students, as I challenged you, Mom, to find that story or that person or that book that really hooks them. I think our students are inundated by really cool tools that I don't know how to use, and also quick fixes for things. And the temptation is certainly there to add these bells and whistles to my lectures and my classes. And once in a while I do, and if I hadn't told you the truth there, I would have been shown to be a liar, because he already said that I brought these things to class. But I try to bring some of these things. And I think I continue to find in the end that those video clips or music samples really can't replace that hard work of getting to know the students themselves. So my mother's tireless pursuit of finding something that would give me an appetite for learning reminds me always to be persistent and to be patient. And along with my gentle mother, my father, who was a professor of English and a poet and an Egyptologist, believe it or not, set an example for me of a life well lived. He introduced me early to Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I have long looked at one of his essays to remind me why I walk the path that I do and why I ask my students to walk this path. He wrote, "God offers to every mind its choice between truth and repose. Take which you please, you can never have both." And I think repose is tempting, and certainly as I get older, it's more tempting. But that search for meaning is so compelling, and I think that's probably why we're all here tonight and year after year. To finish, I had these grand youthful designs for a life of note. I thought I would be famous when I was young, as I watched my father go off to the L into Chicago to teach English to a wide variety of university students every week of his remarkable life. He loved them all, and I marveled at his quiet commitment to learning, to everyone's capacity to learn. He did carve out solitary days in his study for his poetic translations, and as difficult as his teaching load was for over 30 years, and most of the time it was a 4-4 load, I never heard him complain, except for maybe once or twice, but really very little. And I think he loved teaching, and I believe that more than anything, his teaching defined the best of him. I like to think that he passed along his love of both learning and teaching to me, and that in some small way I have tried to mirror his tremendous commitment to the well-being and education of anyone who dares to open themselves fully to the process of learning. So thank you all for sharing this with me tonight. I appreciate it.